And we're live. All right. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to an exciting second act success hangout today. I say exciting because we have been working feverishly for 45 minutes just to get this up on the air. And I think we did it, by golly. And then most of you should be getting a new link right now. And here's what happened. I'm going to introduce everybody in a second. I'll tell you what happened. But Lee, how are you? You here today?
I'm here. I've
got it all working?
Yeah, it's all working. You know, we just had to figure out that we have to plug these things in every now and then. Apparently,
I guess that helps.
Yeah.
And let me also, we got a guest today. I want to introduce James Maduk. James, how are you?
Very well, very well. I'm glad to be here. I haven't done too many hangouts, so this is going to be fun.
Yeah. Well, I think we've done one months ago on my Show Me Your Back End, but
yeah.
And then we saw your back end. I remember that.
Yeah.
You got a little carried away on that, James. You misunderstood what the purpose of the show was.
Yeah, exactly.
We had fun.
Yeah. No kidding. It was a good one.
I asked James to be here today, continuing from last week when we talked about building credibility, demonstrating expertise, and James' internet marketing career. James, one of the first guys that I hooked up with. He's been a great mentor, a great friend, and he also runs a very important company that we're going to talk about a little bit today because we talked about it last week. Those of you who noticed, take a look at my am. I was in a panic today because it's actually cold and rainy in Austin, and that doesn't happen. I was thinking, I'm not going to get to be able to have my Babalu. So I figured out a way around that. I got in the car, and I drove down to Babalu. So I'm doing the hangout from Babalu so that I could share with you my double Maduro Robusto there. Actually, it's a Gordo, a double Maduro Gordo. So that's going to be our cigar of the day from Babalu. How about you, James? James, what are you smoking?
I've never ever tried a cigar or a cigarette or anything. I've never smoked at all in my entire life. I haven't even tried it.
We're gonna have to change that. We're gonna have to say yeah.
Sorry. I don't know why. It's just one of those things as a kid, you know, when you kind of make a commitment to not do it, and then I got hooked on not doing it. Same way as you got hooked on having them.
That's right. That happened when I was a kid also.
Yeah. Happens to the best of us.
When you were a kid?
Yeah, well, what can I tell you? My dad was a cigar smoker, and everybody who looks at me...
Was he really?
Oh, yeah, big time.
Okay,
yeah, big time.
Cool.
He doesn't smoke them anymore, but he was a big time. So, that was... and most people look at me right now, so I guess it worked. Lee, how have you done? You've had a great week. You have a new product out there, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's doing really well, and we got tons of cool stuff headed out in the future. You know, just automating LinkedIn and other social media. So it's been a ride. It's fun, and it does a lot of great stuff. And basically, what we've tried to do is take real best practices for LinkedIn and actually automate them, and I think we've been pretty successful at it.
Well, I love that. And you saying, I don't feel like I hear anything.
I think you just got kind of
cut off there for a second.
Yeah, we had a little lag there for a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah. You missed it. I really shared some brilliant stuff that I don't even remember.
It was like in that remember that movie with Billy Crystal? How there were the three things, you know? And then didn't he? That was what's his name? I've forgotten. But didn't he die before he could tell what Billy Crystal the three things were, or something like that?
Was it the Princess Bride?
No. This is the one, the cowboy one. But the actor was Jack Palance.
That's right.
Oh, okay.
Right. Exactly. City Slickers.
City Slickers. Yes, he was a character.
Slickers. Yeah, yeah.
I,
Hey, well,
I saw
let's.
him. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, we are having some connection issues. You know, what I wanted to say was, I love what you're doing with LinkedIn, because what I always say is technology changes nothing, but it improves everything. And so that's exactly what you're doing. You identified best practices on LinkedIn, and now you're leveraging automation so that you can do it better. It doesn't change what you need to do on LinkedIn. You still have to have a quality profile. You still have to have approach people in the right way. But once you have that worked out, why not automate it so that we can do as much as possible?
Yeah, I mean, that's actually why it works so well, is because we already, all three of us were really good at doing LinkedIn in a manual way to create business. So we just basically put our heads together and said, okay, this is what I do, and this is what my partners did, and so we basically just took that and said, well, which part of this can we automate? And it turns out we can automate 85-90% of it.
That's excellent.
So what I'd like to talk about today, oh my goodness, somebody's ringing in on me. What I'd like to talk about today is carrying forward from what we talked about last week, being the expert. And James, I know you can help people a lot with blogging and also with product creation, and I know that's what you do. I want to turn it over to you, let you start that, and I'm going to figure out who's trying to interrupt my hangout here on the phone.
What, just about blogging? Just to get started with blogging?
The important thing that we talked about last week, James, was differentiating yourself. How to be the expert, okay? How to, so one of the things we talked about was you could create a book on Amazon. You could create a podcast on iTunes, right? You can create videos on YouTube. But to me, your blog is your home base. It's your headquarters. Okay?
Yeah, it's the hub.
It's the hub. Exactly. Where did I learn about hub and spoke, James? Where did I learn about hub and spoke? All right?
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us more about that, eh? I'm glad you said that. This is where I learned about hub and spoke. So why is a blog the hub, and what are the spokes?
Yeah. Well, and it's funny that you're mentioning LinkedIn as well, too, Lee, because just to put this in perspective, just before I was getting ready for this, I was thinking, well, what can I really talk about, blogging, and everyone knows about blogging. So I went and looked when I had my very first blog post, and it was 2001 on Blogspot. I had one of the very first Blogspot accounts. So if you actually go to virtualselling.blogspot.com, you'll see my first blog. And that was actually from 2001.
Wow.
That was well before WordPress. And the thing is that I'm getting close to being chronologically challenged. So I'm plus 50 now, right? And when I started in business, the thing that we always had to do, if you were going to be like a business person or a speaker or a coach, you had to have a physical book. You had to have like a paper book that was published. And I was doing sales training at the time, and there was a book called Virtual Selling. And I actually registered Virtual Selling in 1996 after I saw the physical book. So that was my first website, was this Virtual Selling. And I started off not blogging, but I started off writing a book. And I wrote the book, and it's probably how you met me, Steve. That was the 52 Secrets My Mom Never Told Me About Internet Marketing. Do you remember that? Yeah, exactly. And the thing was with that, it took me like 7 months to write the damn book. It was a huge effort, and it's something that I hated doing. It was a big pain in the butt. But I love talking to people. So the reason I ended up doing 52 Secrets is because I started doing a podcast, but it wasn't called podcasting at the time. So I was doing a sequential email once a week where I just recorded a 3-minute tip on an audio, and I had it as an MP3 file attached to an email, and then I added a new page on my website each week when I had this new tip. And that actually ended up turning into the blog and the podcast, and it was something kind of happened by accident. But I did it personally because it was easier for me to do, instead of trying to work really hard at have like a corporate site or something that you thought people were supposed to see or wanted to see. What I realized was that when people were listening to the audios, they wanted to know about me personally and what I was doing personally. And the big shift for me in thinking was, the whole thing with a blog that makes it special is that if you share stuff that you screw up badly or stuff that you do up well, people can relate to that. So it's not just about, sort of ranting about how great you are and how great your product and stuff is. It's about being a real person, sharing your personality, sharing yourself. And that whole notion of a blog and a continual dripped touch over time, I found that works really, really well. So, I ended up doing over a year of podcasts with that. And the thing that was neat is that as we got into it, people start telling you the other problems that they have or the other situations that they run into. And when they do, it's just like you, Lee, someone's using LinkedIn. They want to do some stuff on LinkedIn, so you come up with a product for it. So I ended up coming up with all of these products about how to do podcasts, how to do blogging, how to create multimedia ebooks, because I didn't like writing books anymore, so I did ebooks with links to videos and audios in them. So I had 72 different products over the last 10 years, and it all started from that one blog at the start. So it's if you can get into the headset, I think, of sharing yourself, being personable, being real, being honest, telling when you screw up and telling when you do well, people can relate to that. And that's what makes blogs and that whole notion of sort of blurting out what's really going on in your life, people really get a share with you, and you can grow a business with that. So it's been almost 20 years now that I've been working online full-time, just selling information products and services online.
That is very cool. I love the authenticity part, because Steve, you and I have talked about that so many ways. This is our fifth second act hangout. And the whole authenticity thing has been a huge issue with us. And I love what works, what doesn't work, because people are, they want a real human being to help them figure this out.
Yeah.
They don't want to feel like, well, gee, I have to be some sort of Superman or Superwoman in order to make this happen. And I think that they want to understand that those of us who do this full time, and I haven't been doing this anywhere nearly as long as you have, but those of us who do this full time, we have a whole graveyard full of screw-ups, right? But the fact is, you just go through that stuff, and then you find a few things that work, and that pays you.
Yep.
Well, exactly.
Absolutely.
Right. And those graveyards full of screw-ups, I love them because each of those is still a step in the right direction. I always say that, imperfect action beats perfect inaction every single time.
Yes.
So we can, and the beautiful thing about blogging is that it's exactly that. Every post you make, every page that you put up there, it's content that's there forever. I once got a call from CNN, wanted to interview me for a story, and I think I may have told this on a past episode, but they called to interview me for a post that I had written a year and a half earlier, and sure enough, they went and did a Google search on something that they were doing a story about. It happened to be about a person, and a person that I knew that had passed away, and I wrote a post about him when he passed away, and it was somebody that I knew personally. So they called to interview me about that person, because when they went to Google, my post came up like number 2 on the page. Mm-hmm. So every single thing you do is out there. It's out there being breadcrumbs that lead right back to you.
That happened for that. Didn't you have a house thing too as well that happened for as well?
Well, sure. My big bad home sale.
Home sale, exactly.
My big bad home sale. That I wrote a blog that sold my house, and the Wall Street Journal wrote an article about us about that. and that turned into one of our first products. So, and that was hosted on that was hosted with your company, James.
I think it was, and that's actually when I think we met then.
We did. That was back in 07. We met in 06 when I first started putting that stuff up. So we were young men back then.
Had more hair.
Yeah, that's not a problem for me. My daughter tells me it's great. To me, I still look blonde. She says, "Don't kid yourself." Right. But somebody once said, "What color did your hair used to be?" I said, "What are you talking about? I'm blonde." So
You can still dye
it. James, the other thing about the blogging is, there's several things. It's an important piece of infrastructure for your business. Number one, you own it. You control it if you do it the right way. When I say you do it the right way, get your own domain, put up your own WordPress site. Don't do it on Blogger. Did that 20 years ago, but he doesn't do that today, right? You don't do that anymore, right, James?
No, there wasn't any blog software at that time. That was the first blog software, yeah.
Exactly. So that's an important piece of infrastructure, number one, because you own it and you control it. Number two, James, tell us about all the cool things that you can do so that when you write a post, that becomes your hub, and you can have all these spokes that radiate out from there so that your content gets syndicated and distributed, right?
Yeah, and one of the things that and this is something that you learn just from doing it, and it was kind of, I learned it by accident, but one of the things that I kind of got taught earlier was when I was starting out, it's like you had a website and it was XYZ company or whatever, and if you had more than one product, there wasn't really shopping carts available at the time. ClickBank was around at the time, PayPal was around, and those were kind of the only two ways for small businesses to really take payments online, and there wasn't a real facility for a shopping cart. So one of the things that I learned very quickly is that whenever I had a new product, I was much better off getting its own domain and a single sales page to sell that individual product. So I kind of got into the hub and spoke backwards. So what happened was that I had, for example, I started doing a whole bunch of joint ventures, and they worked really well. Also, I did a course and a book called jointventuretraffic.com. I was doing a whole bunch of blogging, so I did a course called Blogging Secrets, so I got a domain called bloggingsecrets.com. I was doing these videos and ebooks, and because I hated writing, and I'd have links to audios or videos in PDF ebooks. So what I would do with that is I had multimediaebooks.com. And I ended up that I had all of these individual domains to sell individual products. And there's a couple neat things that really happened with that. And that the important was that because at the early days, those sites were all linked into the hub, I was getting a lot more Google love for the main site because there was all sorts of sites linking into it. And at the time, it didn't matter that they were my own. It does now. But it ended up that I had this one main hub where I had my blog and my information when I was sharing my personal stories, and each of the individual products had their own domain and their own sales page. So it ended up that the more spokes that you get, the more consistent the income was. And that was the real thing for, changing from a part-time internet employee to a full-time internet employee. It's like a lot of people starting out, they'll have one blog and they have one product. And they've only got one product to sell, and they've always got to pitch that one product over and over and over again. So what I was able to do is basically just think of it as a wheel. And that whole process of adding an individual product was just like another spoke onto the hub. And the thing we probably should talk about later is the best part of all of this is that after you have enough spokes, you've also got a membership site. And that's where you really get into recurring revenues, and you don't have to go out selling all the time. It's like I ended up that I had internet marketing for smallbusiness.com, onlineSellingUniversity.com, where all they were the courses that I used to sell individually brought in back into one site and sold as a membership site, but for recurring income. So it's not see, people start on one of the spokes and they go, oh yeah, I know how to do joint ventures now. How do I get some more traffic? Or how did you do that multimedia ebook? Or how did you build that website? Or how did you do this on the blog? And each of these spokes just become another sort of piece of your business. The thing that sometimes gets a little frustrating is you got to make sure that the spokes are related to the hub. A lot of people, they might do something on marketing, but then they're doing something about completely different topic. You want to keep it all related and keep your blog at the start, in the middle of it, that all of these courses are hooked up to. And it works really, really well, and it still works. It still works.
Well, now, of course, and in today's world, they don't have to all be your own sites, because I know that, every day I see you posting stuff on LinkedIn, or I'll see you posting something on Facebook or Twitter.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what I know is doing that. But that's all automated. You're not doing that, correct?
No. I used to, and Lee, I don't. You should probably talk a little bit about what you're doing on LinkedIn. But one of the things that I do is, because there are so many social media sites that are good sites to share what's going on your blog. What I saw people doing, and what I had to do at the start, which was frustrating, was if you put something on your blog, it's like a pain in the butt to have to go to Facebook and do a post about saying, hey, I just updated something on my blog, or I have to go to LinkedIn and just put I updated something on my blog, or you have to do a tweet, or you have to do whatever. So I use a service called onlywire.com.
Mm-hmm.
And OnlyWire, what happens is I only post to my blog, but the second I post to my blog, there's 45 or 50 different social media sites, and they can be organized into categories if it's appropriate, and it posts automatically, takes my exact post from my blog and puts it onto the social media networks. So that's all automated. I don't do that anymore. And people do it backwards. I don't know why. A lot of people will go and post stuff on Facebook saying, go check out my blog. Or they'll put stuff on Twitter saying, go do something and look back at my blog. It should be done the other way around. That the blog is always where you're adding your content, and it distributes the stories to all of these other places. So people are always brought back to the blog, not to your LinkedIn post, or not to Facebook post, or not to your Facebook page. Right. And the other thing I just want to mention, you mentioned too that you don't have to be your own products. I didn't promote a lot of affiliate products, but you can have spokes to your blog can be an affiliate product. It doesn't have to be your own. It can be an affiliate product. It can be joint ventures. Anything that you're doing that generates revenue for you, that is a sales up that you're using. So don't get hung up and say, well, I have to have my own products. Is it good to have your own products? Yeah, but there's certainly lots of affiliate products that are available to people in any market. If you're comfortable with promoting them, definitely add them as a spoke and reference them in your blog posts.
So James, let me ask you this. I got two different kinds of questions to ask you.
Yep.
One's a question for me, because I love it when I do these things and I become the student instead of the host or the whatever, because I think that makes it more real and a lot more interesting for me and for everybody else. But so personally, I basically do three things which for me are highly related, but to the outside world they may not be. One, I'm extremely active in a network marketing company. Okay. I have been a full-time professional internet marketer for, I guess, the past 5 years. Yep. And two, I consult with businesses here in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
So now, to me, those are all the same thing, because it's the same skill set that I bring to that.
Sure.
Because it's an ability to sell stuff, an ability to write copy, understanding how the internet works, creating software. It's kind of like, I'm like a loaded rifle. Just tell me which target you want to destroy, right? But to the outside world, those look like three remarkably different things. So if you were to, and personally, I have a couple of blogs. I have one for my internet marketing stuff and one for my MLM stuff.
Mm-hmm.
To your mind, I mean, would it be smart just to keep those separate? But see, the thing is, I'm telling people the same thing in both places, and it's kind of pain in the butt, you know.
Yeah.
So I mean, so what do you think about all that?
Well, it's the same thing that that I personally played around with, and I don't want to use the word struggled, but for most people, it doesn't matter because they don't even make enough posts to their blog anyway. So if they do a lot of posts and they're at least involved in any of those markets, that's the most important thing up front. My personal preference is if you're going to be someone when you're marketing some marketers who are marketing especially as independent people are often speakers or coaches or consultants that generate a lot of revenue from being a speaker or something along those lines. If that's the case, personally, I would use leecole.com and keep everything at leecole.com. If that's your main blog name, if you want to market yourself as a product as well. So, and after doing that, I would split up the posts based on those three particular markets that you've identified. And I would have the Only Wire, as an example, post only stuff from the MLM opportunity to the specific networks that are related to that, with links back to the posts that are MLM only. If someone's finally there, they can make some choices after and go, oh, he does this as well.
So that makes sense. So from a marketing or branding point of view, I hate that word branding, by the way, but anyway.
Yeah, I do too.
But it's a useful word.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. But from that point of view, you're saying put the personality up front, because for me it is my personality.
Yeah, for some people it is, some people it isn't. So you have to kind of decide that up front.
You're saying put the personality up front and then say,
That's right.
This personality does A, B, and C.
And C, that's right.
So since I'm the visitor, since I'm really only interested in B, I'm gonna follow the B stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
About the B stuff.
That's right. And it's funny that you talk about branding, because I've always been kind of anti-branding and not really big on branding, and unfortunately, what especially with all of the new I think personally, with all of the internet marketing stuff that's happening with the smaller, younger companies and younger marketers, branding is becoming more important again. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in terms of people who are aggressively marketing courses versus people who are working more on branding. And you even see this on some of the top internet marketers. A lot of times when we started out internet marketing, it's like we had 15, 20, 30 products that were available to sell. But if you look at a lot of the marketers now that have been around for a while, it's like they've got 1, 2, maybe 3 products, or more importantly, they have services, not products anymore. And in fact, we're on one right now.
Right.
Mike Filsame and these guys have a couple services now. I remember when Mike Filsame first started, he had products coming out every week almost. Mm-hmm. There was always stuff coming out. So things tend to consolidate as you mature in your business, which is fine. But if you're going to be if you want to have that part where you're branding yourself, or you're selling your personality and yourself, and that's important to you and your business, I would definitely just stick with your name as the main blog.
James, let me ask you a follow-up question to that. Yeah. Lee, I'm sorry, because I think you had a second question, but
let's go.
Yeah. I want a follow-up question to this one. Because if I heard what you said correctly, he should have leecole.com, he should do everything from that, and then he could use OnlyWire to syndicate or post out to, send the MLM content to the MLM, send the internet marketing content to the internet marketing, right?
Yeah.
So I have a question about duplicate content, because people talk about this all the time. Is the stuff going to exist in both places, and is Google going to have a fit about duplicate content?
No, not at all. Not at all. If for example, this is what I personally recommend or do. If I have something that is sales training related, I post it about sales training on my blog, as an example. Like I have sales training. I have face-to-face-selling.com, which is all courses on selling, handling objections, lead generation, customer blueprinting, that kind of thing. So if I post something that's specific on my blog about selling, I post it on my blog in one place. But I'm also letting OnlyWire go and post the link back and the introductory text for that post. I'm letting them put it on a Facebook page. I'm letting it go to a Twitter account. I'm letting it going to a Google Plus account. I'm letting it go to, so it's not duplicate content. It's always content on the social networks that points back to a single post that's still on your blog.
Right.
So it's not duplicate content. It's distributed content.
Now,
All right. So
go ahead, Steve.
go ahead. You lead. You go ahead. Your time for the second question.
Yeah, unfortunately, the person who owns leakhole.com is a professional stand-up comedian in Las Vegas. And I've been waiting for him to die for about 20 years.
Yeah.
I do own leakholeonline.com. So
That's fine. That's fine.
Which right now is just, it's where I've got everything, but
Yeah.
I could easily just essentially turn. I love that idea because you mentioned speaking, and Steve and I have talked
Yes.
about this a lot, and speaking is definitely in the very near future. So it all ties into a personality, which is the real me, by the way.
Yeah.
Now, Steve and I are all about, this whole second act thing and talking to people and the people that are viewing this. We're all about helping people stop the phenomenon of learning stuff and never doing anything.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Now, so somebody looking at this who has no traction, they're not doing it full time, they don't have a graveyard full of, the attic full of past mistakes. I mean, that sounds like Harry Potter, doesn't it? But anyway, they don't have all that, right?
Yeah.
They just got, I've got this burning, I remember when I had that burning desire and had nothing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they got the burning desire to make something happen. What would you do? What would you tell them to do to sort of cut through the mustard, amputate the stuff that's not going to work so fast, like a narrow laser focus, let's get some traction going on here?
Yeah, the most important thing that I did when I got started, like I personally, and I think I'm similar to most other people, you get nervous sharing stuff because of what other people think. That's just human nature. It's like, especially if you're going into a market that's a little more mature, you go, well, what are the people who are already experienced? What are they going to think about what am I doing? And are they going to agree or disagree with me? So it's very, very tough to sometimes even get to the point where you're willing to share what you're doing. But the biggest mistake that I made at the start that helped me out was I'm relatively technically inclined. So I liked doing stuff like videos and audios and finding out how do I record something online, or how do I record a phone call, or how do all the videos that I did at the start were with a whiteboard. They were with a physical whiteboard. There's a site called Mimeo.com, and you actually put these sleeves on top of a whiteboard marker, and put a mic on yourself, and it records the ink that's on the whiteboard and your voice while you're explaining what you're doing. So I didn't have to, all I was doing is writing on a whiteboard. And the biggest mistake that I made is learning how to do that and then testing it. So what I did is I recorded every single thing that I did on a regular basis with all of the people that I was talking to. So if you're a coach or a consultant now and you're talking to someone about MLM, or you're talking to someone about how to pick the right cigar, or how to run a cigar shop, or whatever it happens to be, if you get permission of the people that you're interacting with, record the content. You can create as many products as you want, or pieces of products as you want, by accident. it's not something where you have to go, okay, these are the 14 chapters I'm going to have. These are the topics. Here's the outline. You don't have to do that. If you just capture your daily activities, and whether it's doing stuff on your PC, talking to someone, working on someone's behalf, get permission and capture everything that you do. You're going to get a ton of content. From that, you can either use it all or take bits and pieces and put them into courses. So the biggest thing that I did is just realize that I'm going to capture this stuff and share it. And when we're talking about, being authentic and stuff, that's the part that's great, because when you're sharing this stuff with someone else that's maybe in the same boat as you, or you're trying to help, they have problems, you have problems that other people relate to. And it's not a perfect presentation that you think, oh, I can't do that, I'm not good enough to do that. It's just shared, honest stuff that real people are going through, and people value that. I think that, they're so even the example you guys here with the Hangouts, it's like you're sharing personal experiences, what's going on, and people relate to that. And if you do that, but just try and capture everything you do. Anytime you're on the phone with someone, and it's obviously a customer that's helping, I do this lots of times. Who comes up with a problem that is a new problem for me, or one that I haven't recorded in the past, and just say, would it be all right if I use some of this content, or I recorded some of the conversation, or I explained and used your example and recorded it? And a lot of people will say, yeah, sure, no problem. And you can get content very, very quickly from that, and then just package them together, bundle and unbundle pieces, and you can create as many courses or as much content that's saleable as you want, just by packaging the stuff together. Does that make sense?
James, yeah, it makes total sense. And to your point, it's funny, last night I recorded 7 videos. Each one was no more than 2 minutes long. And each one was a question, because here's what I've learned, and my phone's ringing again. The beautiful thing is that I also have Google Voice, so that whenever my phone rings, I get a chime on Google. So now I can't do a Hangout without my phone ringing through Google. But you love it. Google they're so intertwined in everything I do. All right, but what I was saying was, last night I recorded 7 short videos, each one 2 to 3 minutes long. But here's what they were. People were asking me a question. Now, James, what you said is right on. Here's what I know, and and anybody in our position knows. If somebody asks you a question, there's 1,000 other people that have that same question.
Yeah.
All right. So even if you don't get that opportunity to record it, as you mentioned, James, which I think is a brilliant idea, but even if you don't, then go do a short video of you answering a question. I literally sat there with an index card. I said, Isaac asked me this. I read the question. I said, here's the answer. That became a blog post and a YouTube video.
Yes.
And when I have enough of them, it will become a product. And when I have enough of those, it will become a new membership area. So all this automatically builds that credibility that we started talking about last week, just by simply answering questions online.
Yeah, one of the things that I just did, and I'm just trying to remember the name of it, but I'm a Skype user, and I have an app that automatically records every Skype call I make.
Pamela.
Actually, it's not Pamela. I remember the name of it. I used to use Pamela. This is another one.
Yeah, they're.
But it's. Yeah, but it's like anytime, and I $2.99, and you've got unlimited North America calls to anyone's phone. So it's like, and it's a nice, clean recording of a phone conversation. That's how I do all my podcasts now. I just get on Skype. It's recorded. It takes the length of the time to do the phone call is the length of the time to do the podcast. Mm-hmm. It's like once you get a couple little pieces in place like that, just get into a sequence and do it over and over and over again. The other thing that happens, Lee, and I think you sort of talked about at the start, was like people are afraid to get going on products, and if you start small, like you were suggesting, Steve, like do you remember the first 52 secrets I did?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you remember how long they were? The longest they were was like 4 or 5 minutes.
That's right.
And I had a tip and a tail that I had recorded at the front with some music. And then all I did is just a quick recording. Hi, this is James Maduk, the author of 52 Secrets My Mom Never. And then I just talked about something that happened. Now the best thing was I did 100 and some secrets, but I was only ever one secret ahead of everyone.
Right.
Only 1 week ahead, and then it was time to do it just before it was due to go out again.
And James, you know what else that I learned from you? And I probably didn't learn it as well because I'm a perfectionist. James, you never edited that stuff. If you made a mistake, you just said,
No.
"Whoops, I made a mistake."
Yeah.
And you didn't spend any time editing it. You didn't spend any time, like you said, you slapped that tip and a tail on there. And for those of you without a radio background, that's basically an intro and an outro, a tip and a tail.
Yeah.
Something at the beginning, something at the end. You record a Skype conversation, then you put a something that sounds nice on the front and something that sounds nice on the back, and you've got a podcast.
Yes.
And you don't worry about the ums and the ahs and the slight slip-ups. You just put it out there. It's real.
Yeah.
Okay. Lee, what are you thinking there? I see you there deep in thought. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I'm, just the wheels are turning. James, I know for a fact that there are a lot of people who are going to be listening to this who have the chicken and the egg problem. Or the I'm not an expert problem.
Mm-hmm.
Can you help them quit obsessing over that?
Yeah. I wish there was an easy answer for it. That the thing that I learned at the start was, not being an expert at something, was that, first of all, it doesn't take very long to be a relative expert. When people think of experts, it's like if there's 100,000 experts in a particular market, people only think about the 5 or 10 that are really, 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 really popular experts. That still means there's 900,000 people who say they're experts but aren't. So don't get hung up on comparing yourself against someone who wasn't an expert at the start but learned along the way and shared what they were doing, what they were learning along the way, and became an expert. So the first thing is, don't measure yourself against people who are already experts. I think more importantly, the focus should be on what absolutely interests you to the point where you're excited and willing to learn more about it. A lot of times what happens is I run into people who flop or flip-flop from market to market because they hear that, oh yeah, this product's going to be in demand soon, or oh, this is a really good market to be in. So they think, oh great, I'm going to work on being an expert in that market, but they have no personal interest in it. And you can't authentically share your personal interest in a market that you really, really, really aren't emotionally involved with. So if you can pick something that you're emotionally involved with, and you spend the time and energy sharing your experiences as you learn more about it, that's enough. That's all you need to do. And it doesn't take long to become an expert in relative terms to all of the other people in your market if you continue to do that for longer than 3 weeks. So the other thing that happens is people go, well, I did 12 blog posts in 3 weeks and I'm not independently wealthy yet. How come? I thought internet marketers are all rich. It doesn't work that way. It's a real business. You have to structure it like that and work your way through and grow into the business, and try and make sure that you stay emotionally invested in the particular market that you're in. That's my Some people don't do that, but they generally don't share themselves emotionally if they're not really excited about it.
James,
Yes.
I think
That's
that
great.
was an excellent answer. I'd like to add a little something to it because I talk about this with my membership and about being an expert. To me, it's kind of an oxymoron. If people are coming to you and asking you questions, and you can answer those questions, well, it seems to me you must be an expert. At least if your answer is fairly accurate. James said it's relative, and it is. If you are advising small businesses, about marketing, understand they don't know the things that you know. They don't know the things that we're talking about here. If you ever want to try this out, next time you go to the grocery store and you're standing in line, just ask that person next to you what they think about the new WordPress 4.0. Okay, and just see if you get an answer. They don't know. No. So it is relative. It's relative to who you're speaking with, who your market is. Those business owners don't know about WordPress 4.0 and don't know about the things we're talking about either. So they have those questions. They have those questions about, how do I get more visible online? How do I get more customers in the door? How do I increase the value of each and every customer? And if you've got the answers to those questions and you can make videos about that, people are going to turn to you for those answers. And in my book, that makes you an expert.
Exactly.
I love the idea of the relative expert, because that's really all it is. Yeah, that's a beautiful concept. I always told people it was kind of like you're on a really long trail going up a series of mountains leading up to a really high mountain. And really all you need to be able to do is tell the people who are behind you, this is a good way to go and don't go that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I went that way and nearly killed myself, nearly fell off a cliff. Go over here. That is of value to the people behind you.
Yeah, more so than I think people, are personally afraid to share their failures.
Yeah.
But I think it's a powerful marketing message that shows that you're real, you're authentic, that you've done the same stuff, that made the same stupid mistakes that other people have made or might be embarrassed to talk about. But if you can, if you can share those mistakes and learn from them and save the other people from having to learn from the same mistakes, that's a lot of value.
James, we're getting into the final 10 minutes of the show, and
it went fast, didn't it?
It did go fast.
Right.
Yeah. But one thing I want to talk about now is I want to talk about, Lee asked the great point about where do you get started? What are the first steps? Now, I also want to talk about doing things right, because, there's pluses and minuses with WordPress. One of the pluses are that so many people use it. The minuses are that so many people use it. And so it's so prone to being hacked. It's so prone to a lot of other things. But there's a right way to do this and to set it up and to maintain it. And frankly, you're making an entire business out of helping people take that burden off their shoulders. And so I take this time to tell us what you're doing, how it's going to help them, and don't be afraid for a little shameless self-promotion.
Okay. Well, I think it's interesting. We've been talking about courses, and before WordPress, I actually did a course called Build My First Website, which was like how to use one of those web hosting companies that used to have editors built in before WordPress, where you would actually go and use the editor to build a website. That was one of the first courses I did, and then I did a course on how to use WordPress. And when we're pretty simple, there weren't a lot of options or choices. It was like you made a post, and those were the only options. Actually, when WordPress first came out, you couldn't even do pages. So this is all stuff that got added, and over the last 3 or 4 years, for WordPress, as it's become more popular, what was happening for me personally was that, like, I have 100 and some videos on how to use WordPress as an example, and the videos, some are short ones, some of them are longer ones, but they cover all of the different topics that you come up with trying to install WordPress, use WordPress, and extend WordPress. And the thing is now that it's getting overwhelming for a lot of people. And what I ended up doing was, I still have the courses, but what I ended up doing was people would say, okay, well, how do you do this? And I say, well, here's a video to show you exactly how to do that. And they'd watch it, and then they'd break something, or it wouldn't work properly, and then there'd be a support ticket back saying, oh, what happened with that? Or how come it's doing that? And the answer was in the video, but a lot of times people aren't overly engaged in the technical part of marketing online. So what I decided to do is set up a service for user, but after they have WordPress. And this is what I mean. It's called wpblogsupport.com, and we actually will install WordPress for free for people. So if someone wants to get a WordPress site installed, it's not installed yet, we'll just install them for them free. That's not a problem. But what it is, it removes all of the technical aspects of WordPress away from the marketer. Spend time building their own products, engaging other people, helping their customers, and not having to figure out how to do stuff in WordPress or even add content in WordPress. One of the things that I found is, like, when a lot of times when I was talking to marketers, they, what'd you do today? Well, I did this on WordPress, I did that on WordPress, and I was able to fix this on WordPress, and I added this plugin on WordPress, and did you talk to any customers today? I didn't really get a chance to, because they were spending so much time on WordPress and their website, they weren't actually engaging with customers. So WP Blog Support is all about removing all of the things that you would have to do with a WordPress site and letting marketers, business owners go about doing their business and not managing the website. So things like plugins and themes, configuring them. Security is another big thing. We do automatic. We've got 12 key services that run in the background, doing things like making sure that all the plugins, all of the themes, all of the WordPress installs are up to date, but making sure that your site's not being hacked, making sure that everything is working properly on your hosting account. We'll host it for you as well if you want, but it doesn't have to be hosted with us. It just removes all of the technical headaches that people run into or get afraid of getting started, thinking, I don't have time for this, or I don't want to break it, or I don't know how to do it. You shouldn't be doing it. You should be doing your marketing, and you should be helping your customers, not mucking around with WordPress. So WP Blog Support, you're obviously welcome to go and check it out and take a look. And if you have any questions or you need WordPress installed, and actually we do have what we'll do is we'll do one quick job for someone. If anyone comes and they want to go to the pricing page, you'll see there's a button there. It says do one quick job. So if you've got a WordPress task, something that you want done, just open up the ticket and we'll actually do the WordPress task for you. And it's unlimited tasks each month for a flat fee. So people pay $69 a month and they get unlimited WordPress support. So if you want a theme done, if you want a plugin installed and configured, actually if you want a post up, all that kind of stuff, it's all done for you. And that's wpblogsupport.com.
Well, James, and first of all, for all the marketing consultants that are watching us, let me throw you a big fat softball, James. James, do you have an affiliate program?
I absolutely do. Thank you very much for asking, Steve.
Okay. So you follow me. You marketing consultants. That means you can go sign up your business. Okay. Just turn them over to James. James does the work for you, right? This is what we call outsourcing. Everybody's always looking for outsourcing. James does that, okay? You get to just collect a commission check every single month while James does all the work. How good does that sound? Okay? So bring James 5 customers, 10 customers, 50 customers, 100 customers, and before you know it, James is going to be paying for your car. All right? And you don't really care if they drive a BMW, do you, James?
Not at all. Not at all.
Okay.
The more bees, the better.
Very simple. Just go first to James.
Yeah, yeah, and it's very, very simple too. We've got there's obviously I'm excited about WordPress because I've been doing it for so long. So yeah.
Okay. Now the other thing I wanted to say is you didn't mention this, but I want to share a personal story. I woke up one morning and my site hosted on James's server, and it got hacked. That happens with WordPress. You go there and it has Arabic, which basically says, "Hey, buddy, you're screwed. We hacked your site." Okay. I called James. James had a backup up within about 5 minutes because he takes a backup every single night. So I didn't lose any content. I didn't lose any work, and I was unscrewed, and I got to laugh at those people.
That's
and
a
then
great service.
We also had the plugins on after so that you don't get hacked in the future.
Right. This was before I think that was available.
Before those plug. That's right.
So yes, now you prevent that from happening. But let's face it, things still happen.
Happen.
The good news is things are being backed up every single night. Am I correct, James?
Every single night, everything gets backed up. That's correct.
Okay.
And actually, I think it's 24 times times a day, WordPress is up to date, and then they're automatically updated. So even if a lot of times what happens with WordPress is, like I get some new customers, and I had one earlier in the week as an example, who was running WordPress that was 2.5 years old and had 30 plugins that were outdated, and some of the plugins didn't even work. They were that old. So some people still have that, so we make sure that everyone's site is always up to date, and it's always in as safe as it could possibly be.
Very cool.
Yeah. Excellent. All right. Lee, final thoughts?
This is our usual final thought, which is, I think, get started. Actually, I'm speaking to the people looking at this. Quit thinking about it and start doing it.
Exactly, right?
That would be my main final thought, yeah.
Okay, and I would say quit thinking about it for yourself, and also know that you've got a resource out there that does this 24 hours a day. He's an expert, been doing it 20 years.
Okay. Yeah, that's huge, yeah.
Yeah.
So those of you, we've talked about the importance of residual income. I was talking to one of my students today. Just lost one of his big clients. Called, he says, I'm in a panic, I just lost one of my big clients. Okay? Yeah. Now, fortunately for him, okay, he's followed what I've always taught him in terms of making sure you've got a lot of residual income coming in every single month. And this is exactly what we're talking about. If you bring these people to James and they're hosting their site there, okay, and they won't have any problem doing it because James is providing them a great service, specifically dedicated towards WordPress. Okay, they have to pay for that service anyways. They're going to pay HostGator for some inferior service. They're going to pay GoDaddy for some inferior service. Bring them to James for a superior service, and you get to collect the monthly affiliate check. Yep. All right, and you have enough of that coming in, and it's going to happen. You might lose a client here or there, but they're not going to take their site down. They're going, if they go find another marketing consultant, they're not going to take their site down. They're not going to move their site. All right, you're still going to have that residual income coming in every single month.
Excellent.
Yeah, and even if they don't have to be hostess necessarily, too. If you've got customers that do have a site right now, we'll still do the same. The WP blog support service still applies, and it lets them have more free time doing what they should be doing, which is sharing themselves. And like, if I could end on that, please share yourself. Share yourself. Be authentic. Be excited about what it is that you're doing, and just share that excitement with people. It sells. It sells if you do that.
You got it.
Great advice.
All right. Well, that's it. We're gonna
Cool.
wrap this one up. James, I thank you so much for being here.
Hey,
always
pleasure.
a pleasure.
Thank you, James. It was nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too. I had fun. Thank you, guys.
Okay, James, I'm going to follow up with you also because I think people are going to want to know where can they get more. I know you've given the website out a few times, but I want to talk to you also because you probably have some things you might want to share. Maybe it's the Blogging Secrets book or something. I don't know, but something that you can probably share, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. So I'll get together with you and we'll put some links up on the replay page about that.
That would be great.
Cool.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, James.
Thank you, Steve.
Lee, thank you so much. What's up for the next week, Lee? Any new products coming up? What about your new LinkedIn? You want to talk about that?
We're working feverishly at essentially an even more upgraded version with this. The final goal, Steve, is we're going to have the mother of all LinkedIn software in 4 weeks. Seriously, it is going to basically do everything. It will find and curate content, video content, and written content. It will be able to create, manage groups. You will basically be able to spend maybe an hour or 2 or 3, if you want to be really organized about it, once a month. Run it.
I'll be right back, Steve.
Okay, James.
Let it do its thing, and it will build contacts. It will build excitement among those contacts. It's going to take your interaction and your what LinkedIn calls your engagement and just catapult it through the roof. it is going to be some amazing stuff. And we're looking at probably 4, 5, 6 weeks on the big one, and we got a couple of little pieces of that coming out in the meantime.
Hey, Lee, I need to tell you, I woke up this morning. I updated my LinkedIn profile following all the advice that you and Gloria gave me.
Yes.
And I'm seeing more people view my profile. I'm seeing all that. I woke up this morning, and I saw that a guy had viewed my profile, and he was an executive with a large home builder in Houston, Texas.
Nice.
So I saw he'd viewed my profile. He didn't ask to connect, but I sent him a message, and all I said was, I see that you viewed my profile. How can I help you? Incidentally, I've got lots of ideas about how the specific proprietary services that I provide could really benefit a home builder such as yourself.
Surely.
And he wrote me back and he said, yeah, I want to connect with you. And he wants to have a face-to-face, well, at least a phone conversation about it. So, LinkedIn is just a great place to demonstrate your expertise.
LinkedIn is kind of, I would not say that it's undiscovered, but I would say to a lot of people, it's kind of like, and it's not unknown, obviously, there are millions of people on LinkedIn, but it's kind of like everybody thinks about Facebook and Twitter and this and that. I mean, for business, LinkedIn is where it's at. And done right, the engagement, that's a great story. I hear that story all the time from people. Hey, Lee, I finally did, I did what you and Gloria told me to. I ran the software. So-and-so, from this company just contacted me.
Maybe.
Like I say, if I can get contacted by Al Jazeera, which is one of my favorite stories in my entire life, if I can get contacted by Al Jazeera to do a interview on their for one of their programs, then LinkedIn is powerful, because there's no reason in the world that Al Jazeera should be contacting below me.
Just don't give them your home address, Lee.
I mean, James, it's hilarious. My picture on LinkedIn is, I think it's the one on LinkedIn. It's definitely the one on Facebook. Is me posing for a picture in front of a decommissioned aircraft carrier in Charleston Harbor. I am probably not Al Jazeera material, but because of what, because of the content that I'd been putting out on LinkedIn, and because of the way that I was taught to do this by my partner, Gloria Gunn, who is just a LinkedIn Uber guru. This got, this was found. People saw it. They thought it was cool. This particular reporter needed more information for a show they were doing the next day. I mean, that's some powerful, powerful stuff. And it happens all the time. Done right, it's hard to screw up LinkedIn. So, Steve, I'm glad that happened. But why
don't we talk about that next week? Why don't we talk about positioning yourself as the expert and the things you can do for your LinkedIn and social media profiles? And maybe Gloria can be a part of it.
Oh, Gloria, I'm sure she would love to be a part of it. That would be a great idea, absolutely.
Let's do that for next week.
Steve, did you get a copy of my new software, LinkedIn?
I have not yet. I have not.
My bad. You need to just say, Lee, send that over, okay? Don't wait for me to offer it, because I'm here, under a mountain of copywriting. So to say, hey, Lee, send that over. So we'll send you a link to that. And James, if you would like a copy of that also, I'd be more than happy to.
Sure, that'd be wonderful. Thank you.
So maybe you could send Steve your email or send it to me, and we'll set you up.
Yep. That would be perfect. Thank you very much.
All right, everybody. So thanks.
So you do stuff with Gloria? Yeah. Okay. Now I've got it. Now.
Do you know Gloria?
I kind of do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we've talked once, right, Steve? Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I did. I connected you with Gloria about WordPress sites, didn't I?
Yeah, she has. Actually, she has a WordPress site of ours, I think.
That's right. I did connect you two. That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Very, very cool. Very cool. Yes, Gloria is one of my many business partners and a good friend.
Okay. Yeah, we should actually talk too, because I've got masternetworkmarketing.com.
Cool. Yeah.
But I don't have anything really on it right now.
Let's connect that. Let's end the show for this week, but we got a lot to talk about.
Yes, we'll quit. Since we're getting stuff, we're going to quit letting the public look at it.
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us on Second Act Career Success. We'll be back next week, and we're going to talk about how to really boost your profile, especially on LinkedIn, but other social media as well. Have a great week, everybody. Thanks for being here.
Later.